Let's do some of the classwork problems together. For most of the problems, we are going to be using the basic simple interest formula, which is I equals P times R times T, or interest equals principal times rate times the time. So for number one, we are just going to multiply these three things together with a calculator. Remember to hit the percent button. All right, so when I type all of that into my calculator, I get 150. Interest is how much money you'll have to pay extra to somebody else, or maybe you'd get for yourself if you were the one borrowing the money. So we're going to add a $sign. Whoops, I wasn't clicked into that cell. All right, $150. All right, so again, you're just multiplying those three things. Now, let's say instead, like for number 7, we want to solve for P. Okay, I'm going to just look at this regular equation. To get P by itself, it's P times this something else. So we need to divide away that something else on both sides. Anything divided by itself is 1, which would leave us with just P. So then on the other side, you'd have interest divided by that R times T, which is right here. Now, I just wrote it a little bit differently, not as a fraction, because this will be easier to put into your calculator. With parentheses, it will do that first, because otherwise you need to make sure that you multiply these two things first. Remember that number or write it down, and then when you divide, the interest has to be put into the calculator first. But to avoid writing something down or remembering it, if you just add those parentheses, you don't have to worry about it. It might sound complicated, but let me just show you how this works. All right, so our interest is 90. So we're going to do 90 divided by, and then it's 4% times 5 in parentheses. It's best if you use Google Calculator. So I'm going to do 90 divided by parentheses 4%, and I forgot what it was already, and then times 5, and parentheses, boom, there's your answer, 450. That was not very complicated. Right, and it's money, so I'm going to add the $sign. It's going to be the same type of thing for the rate and for the time. You're always going to do the interest number first, then divided by, and then in parentheses, your two other numbers. So for this one, I'm going to do 720 divided by 6,000 times 6. I'm not going to hit any percent button this time, though, because none of those are percent. Sorry, that is the alarm for the end of one of classes in my in-person school. All right, 720, 6,000, 6. All right, 720, 6,000, and 6. Boom. All right, the only tricky thing for this one, though, is that this one is a decimal, and it needs to be a percent. However, now that I'm making this, I'm going to probably actually make this default to a percent so that we don't have to worry about that. All right, 2%. All right, and then the last one, it's time. All right, so again, you're going to do the interest number first, divided by, and then the other two numbers multiplied together. 108, 300, 3%. I'm trying to just remember those. 108, 300, 3%. All right, we get 12. And T stands for time. So it's going to be 12 years. I did add some drop-down menus so that you don't have to worry about the spelling. All right, let me know if you have more questions.